for them a creature that I didn't create, I guess, originally, which means this arvad, which is very dangerous. In other words, they're mating things that they're trying to get new creatures. Let me give them something that they don't know about. That's dangerous.
That's great. It's like Mida Kenega Mida.
What is an art? What's
I don't know. It's some
a snake and a toad.
right.
What is it in English?
It says it's a snake that bites and kills people.
Poisonous snake.
Yeah.
Well, Amar Mar, the master taught Kolsha Tashmishin Vibur Shavi Yolda Megadim Zemizeh. Tashmishin means that the way they mate, whether it's face to face or against the back, the way they mate, if they're the same, if they mate the same, and their gestation period is the same time, then they could procreate. However, if they're different, then they can't procreate. So the problem is, how did they mate a snake with a toad or a lizard? Amarav, nes b'teich nes. It's a miracle in a miracle. Where it says it, this is a miracle. Hypernusahu, this is a punishment. The Gemara says, "My nes b'teich nes leparanus." This is a miracle within a miracle for punishment.
Wow.
So this was
Rav?
a bad one.
Rav, so much for Rav, huh?
For
Rav says nace b'teich nace.
oh, but that's what he means, that it was God was doing something wondrous just to punish them.
Oh, that's what he meant. For Peranius. No, but he's saying, it's a question.
We're
But the
saying,
question
how did
is-
anything come out of this? Nothing could come out of it. It says no for. Okay. The geneticists are saying it's not such a nes b'toich nes. I could do this in the laboratory. Okay, the Mishnah says, ha'ever. This is back to some halachic things. Ha'ever va'abasar hamiduldalim v'behema. If there is a limb or flesh that's dangling on an animal, as the animal is alive, this flesh was almost totally severed, but it's still hanging on. So it's not nevela yet. However, mitamen tamasaychlin b'mekayman. It's even though while it's attached, if it's dangling, the person thinks that, you know what, I'm going to feed this to a non-Jew or something, so it's considered food, and because it's considered food, if it gets wet with trichem hechsher, and it needs to get wet, if it gets wet, then it will give off tumah. It will not give off. It will receive tumah because it's food, and then after it receives it, it can give it off.
It's not even Menachem, right? Obviously.
Well, Aver Menachai, the actual Aver is actually tamei. If there's a full Aver, not the Basar Menachai. Basar Menachai is not tamei. Aver is metame just like an avela. We'll see soon that there's a difference, but it's metame like an avela. But here we're saying that it's not an Aver Menachai yet. It's only Tumah Soichlin.
Because it's still attached.
Because it's still attached.
Aver Menachem is only when it's
Detached, yeah.
Oh, detached. That's not detached.
It doesn't mean that. It didn't mean that you can eat it. Let's see in a minute.
Yeah, you can't serve it if it's attached.
But nevertheless, it does have the status of food if he considers serving it. Nishchata behema. If the animal is shechted and it has these limbs that are dangling, so huchshu b'dameh divrei Rab Meir. Rab Meir says that the blood from the shechita is considered that it's making this limb wet, and now this limb that's dangling could become tamei. Reb Shimon Reb Shimon says no, it doesn't. The shechita blood doesn't make it muchshel l'kabel tama. Meisa habehema. If the animal now dies, and you already had this limb hanging off it, so it should be nevela, right? So habasar tzarech hechsher. The flesh still needs to get wet. It's not nevela. Ha'ever metame mishum ever menachai, ve'ena metame mishum ever nevela. It's considered ever menachai. You hear this? Mm-hmm. We say misa oisin nipol, that the death of the animal makes it considered like it's severed, and therefore it's as if it was severed by the death, and it didn't come off the dead animal, it came off the living animal. while it's alive, we didn't say that. We didn't say that it's an Eiver Menachai. It's at the death that we consider it an Eiver
Is
Menachai.
Eiver Menachai applicable only if it's eaten, or if a person cuts off a part but doesn't eat it?
You mean the law of Eiver Menachai is not to eat a limb off a living animal?
Is it?
It's another law of Tsar Balechayim. That's not Eiver Menachai.
That's not Eiver Menachai?
No. So this is Reb Meir's opinion, that it gives off a tumah of Eiver Menachai, so it's similar to a nevela, and or Reb Shimon Mitar. Reb Shimon says that it's tar. Now the Gemara says, Tumas Eichlin in. We said that this limb that's dangling is only tameh as food.
This is dangling partially cut?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tumas nevela light. But it's not considered a nevela because it's not considered that it was cut off. We're not considering it Eiver Menachai when it says Tumas nevela. We're referring to Eiver Menachai. We don't consider it severed. The Gemara asks, you got to make up your mind. Heichidami, what is the scenario? Idamal and Arucha, are we dealing with the type of cut that it could regenerate, it could heal? So why are you considering it detached, that it's considered like food? It's a regular piece of the animal, which while it's alive is not tameh as food, and no living thing becomes tameh, except a person. But no creature that's alive is tameh. So, and this is alive. You see, it will regenerate. So why is it going to be tameh as food? And if it doesn't regenerate, it's because it's dead. So tumas nevela nami litamas, you should consider it severed. It should give off tumas nevela. The Gemara answers lo'ilam dein malan arucha. Really, it will not heal. Shani tumas nevela derachman amar ki yipal ad sheyipal. Special halacha. It's considered severed, but it's not considered nevela, because by nevela it says ki yipal. It will fall, and it didn't fall off yet. So there's a special exemption of nevela, that if it's dangling, it's not tameh because of nevela.
Is an animal that's born with an extra limb, like they would take these pictures in the old free,
Right.
midway place, is that a nevela animal? Like if it had 5 legs or something?
So we said we said that in certain instances it's considered a treifa because of the rule kol yaser kinatal dami. Anything that's extra is considered like it's removed, and then when you remove it, what happens when you remove it? We had 3 opinions over there. When you remove it, you're going to have to cut it off. It's as if it's been cut off, even though it's walking around with an extra leg. So it's many times it's a treifa, depending on what organ it is that's extra.
So you're saying the whole animal becomes treifa?
Yeah. And those when you
So
shecht
is
it,
this
it's not a
animal
nevela.
becoming treifa
No, no. This is a bunch of flesh that's hanging off, or a finger that's hanging off. It's not a.
Excellent.
Not necessarily is it something that's making it a treifa.
In yesterday's Rambam, Parak Day, it says that an animal that has an extra, let's say instead of like its regular hoof, there's like an extra toe in there. If you cut off that extra toe, then through that blemish, you're making the animal able to be a carbon.
But that's the opposite of what?
Right.
You just
That's
said
because
it's
it's an extra
That's
appendage.
because there were certain things that were cosmetically not allowed. That was a mum, just a blemish. I'm not talking about a mum as a blemish. For those cosmetic things, you can cut it off, and the animal is kosher as a carbon. I'm talking about not for the cosmetic things that are vital. That if you cut them, then it affects the how long this animal can live. So then that would make it a treifa. Now, even if you don't cut it, it's already considered like it's cut. That was the.
So one insurance covers and the other insurance doesn't cover.
But it sounds like if you don't cut it,
Right,
then
that's
you can't
because
bring
of
it as a carbon.
yeah. That's because of for cosmetic.
Right.
Cosmetically, it's not. You can't bring a carbon that looks like that. Tanya Nami Hachi was also taught in a brisa something similar to this. You see here, what we're doing is we're saying that the status that it has is, regarding this halacha, it's one thing, and regarding that halacha, it's another thing. We're saying here, regarding Ever Menachai, regarding Eichlin, regarding considering it food, it's considered food and becomes tummy. Regarding being an avela, or the tumah that comes from an avela, that we're not going to say. We have another brisa that says this: if the limb or flesh is dangling, the behema and is hanging by a thread, maybe it will give off the tumah of nevela. Talmud Laimar yipal. Pasuk says yipal, ad yapal, until it falls off. It's not tamei nevela. And nevertheless, it still is tamei as food. This is a proof to Rabbi Barashi says. Dam Rabbi Barashi, Amar Shmuel. Rabbi Barashi says in the name of Shmuel. Interesting comparison here. Te'inim shetzamku be'iveim. If I have figs that dried while they're on the tree, you didn't cut it off and it starts to dry. So, mitames tumasaychlin. It's already considered food because it's dried on the tree, and if it gets wet, it's susceptible to tumah. And if a sheretz, the dead sheretz touches it, the dead lizard is on it, so it's going to be tamei. However, but it's still considered attached. That if you take it off on Shabbos, it's yichayv chatas for taking it off. It's food and it's taking it off. So we see that sometimes you can have, regarding one thing, it's considered attached. Regarding another thing, it's considered detached.
But
Let's
you're not allowed to
here.
take it off anyway.
You're not. Right, you're not allowed to. No,
So depending on
you're not allowed to take it off on Shabbos.
Right.
Because it's considered
depending
attached.
on how you categorize it.
But if it was not attached, then you can touch it on Shabbos.
Right.
Oh, that's what
Wait, can you?
Wait. If it was not attached on the ground on Shabbos, you
No.
could pick it up.
We're trying to say this. You can't. It's not considered food if it's attached to the tree. But nevertheless, here we're considering it food regarding tumah.
Right.
Regarding Shabbos, we're considering it attached to the tree.
Can you go on Shabbos and bite
That's
it?
mixing
without pulling it off?
But if it was on
That's
the
mixing,
floor on Shabbos, you couldn't have it either.